Hello and welcome to Online Learning with Mr. Christensen. Looks like we're taking the classroom and going digital. So what's going to be happening is I'm going to be posting every week a video talking about our new skill or the topic of the week. You can follow that link, obviously you already have, and see what notes we're doing, what we're working on. There's my hand. And I'm going to take these notes once I'm done with them, scan them, and post those along with the link. So you don't have to copy this. You can print it. Then you can write on it, highlight it. You can work with the notes itself. And then if you need to refer back to see how I did something, you can actually go to the video and watch it and follow my steps. For the next, we got like 6-7 weeks, something like that. We're going to primarily hit what would be considered the most important skills needed for 8th grade. We will not, in any means, hit everything that was going to be hit in 7th grade. You guys are going to miss quite a few little things here and there. They'll get picked up over the next couple of years, no worries. The main things we're going to work on, we're going to start today with integers. We'll take the next few weeks and work with integers, making sure you remember every rule there is for integers. And then from there, we'll go into combining like terms, which we were working on right before we left. We're going to hit that a little bit more for a few weeks, and that'll take us to the end of the school year. So we're trying to get the most bang for our buck, make sure that all those 8th grade teachers who get to have you in their classroom next year, hopefully you join them with a little bit of knowledge that can help you out. All right, so I'm going to write the notes on here, follow along. It's looking at my notes that I wrote already. It's probably about 3 pages. And then again, I'll scan this when we are done and post it along with the link to this video. So we are going to be doing integers today. All right. So we have always worked since elementary school with whole numbers. And whole numbers are all the positive numbers and 0. All right. So those were whole numbers. That's what you worked with in, K through 5. 6th grade, they may have introduced you to integers very briefly. I know we worked on it earlier this year, so I know you know what they are. But the whole numbers, they were all your basic counting numbers, so on and so forth. Now we get to integers. And these include all those whole numbers that we've been using for years. And their opposites. Their opposites are the negative numbers. Okay, so when we're talking about whole numbers are just the positive numbers. Integers are all of those whole numbers, all those positive numbers, 0 included, and all of the negative numbers. Okay, so they are the whole set. They're all the numbers, no fractions, no decimals. We're not talking about those right now. We're just talking about normal counting numbers. So if we're looking at this on a number line, if we were going to actually write out integers or a small segment of a number line for the integers, there we go. Oh, I'm off my page. You guys can't tell me if I'm off my page here. Dang it. All right, well, I'll try my best. So if I have 0 in the middle, we have always known that to the right are the positive values and so on. To the left are the negative numbers and so on. And they go on forever in either direction, obviously. So this is what integers are. Integers are now all of these values. 0, all the positives, and all the negatives. Okay, it's all incorporated into one long strand of numbers now. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a couple of different facts to prepare you for the assignments that I'm going to give you. I'll probably give you 2, maybe 3 assignments a week, depending on how difficult the assignment or the lesson is. You'll be able to post them on Blackboard, on Aries, or you can email them to me directly. I don't care, same thing, doesn't matter to me. So just understanding what the numbers are is the beginning, the helpful part. After that, we're going to get into how do we know what it means when we hear it verbally. So translating words into integers. So that's one of the first lessons, one of the first assignments they ask you to do is take a sentence and tell us what the number value would be for that sentence. So some key terms, some hints. What I would call the positive phrases or words and the negative phrases. Okay, and we did build this list together earlier this year, so hopefully you're in your head already going, oh, I remember some of these things. And if you do, great. But as a reminder, we have positive things. So if we gain yardage, if we gain money, if we gain weight, whatever, that's a positive thing. If we go up on the scale, if we have an increase in volume, in population, in anything, it's a positive. If we make a profit, right, that's when you make money. Yay for that. If it is above, like above the sea level, or above the ground, or whatever's above. And then time frame in years, we have AD. That's one way it's said. Another way that some people prefer is ACE or just CE, I guess it would be for common era, and then AD was the old phrase. I forgot what it stands for. It's a Latin, I believe. It's like after death is what some people refer to it as. Negative phrases would be if you have a loss of yardage, if you go down on a scale or a number line, if you have a decrease in a population, if you are below 0 on a thermometer or below sea level. We have a lost. So if you lost money, you'd have a negative number, obviously. Withdraw, that would be another one, because that means you're taking money out of the bank. That brings one over here. I forgot it was deposit. And finally, if we're talking about years again, BC or BCE for before Common Era. Those are all words that can very easily help you know when they're describing a value, if it's going to be a positive or a negative number. So a couple of quick examples for that. There will be a few problems on your assignment asking you to do some real basic ones, just like this. If they say the team gained 5 yards. Well, obviously we got a 5. That's pretty simple. I can bonus that right over there. But now I'm going to figure out, is it going to be a negative or a positive 5? Well, if we gain something, that means it's going up. And in fact, our very first word there says gain. That's going to be a positive 5. Okay? If we are 20 degrees below 0, well, 20 degrees, there's our 20. We don't write the degrees at this point because we're just talking about a value. Below. Oh, there we go, below. And that's a negative term, so it's negative 20. Okay. Let's see, I got 2 more here. If we have a decrease in population of 200. Again, we have decrease. We can look through our list if we need the helpful hints. There's that word decrease. It is a negative phrase, so I have negative, and the number is 200. And if you have a $75 profit, profit is over here. That's a great thing to have as a profit. You're making money. That's a positive thing, so it's a positive 75. Okay, so one of the very first things they're going to ask you to do is they're going to give you a few examples like this or a few problems like that. All you have to do is very simply right next to it, positive 5, negative 20, negative 200, whatever it is. There's no work to be shown there. Use the notes to help you if you're not sure. Double check that. Make sure you're happy and understand that. If you have questions, reach out to me and let me know. I do not know how to edit, so some of these things will be very rough looking as I change pages. I apologize. You're going to have to deal with that. All right. So the next section that we're going to deal with is absolute value. Okay. Again, something we did earlier this year. And this is a measurement. And this measures the distance a value is from 0. Please remember that all measurements are positive. It will help you out a lot with this. You've never seen a negative number on a ruler, measuring tape, yardstick, scale. It's always positive numbers because you always measure, especially distance. Distance is always measured as a positive number. Okay, so all measurements, all distance measurements are positive. That's going to help you out with this. To show you what I'm talking about with distance, we're going to draw another number line right here. And see if I can make sure I stay on the screen. Good for me. And the top or on the bottom, I'm going to write the integer. So down here, I'm going to list the integers. So here's 0. And from elementary school, we have our positive numbers. They always go to the right. And now from 6th and 7th grade, we have our negative numbers. They go to the left. We count, same thing, we're just kind of counting backwards. We're going to the left. So -4, -5, -6, and so on. Okay. On top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the distance. And again, this is the distance from 0. So here is our key line, our 0 line. This is what we're measuring from. And you can see very easily the number 1 is 1 step away from 0. The number 2 is 1, 2 steps away from 0. Notice that's a positive 1, positive 2, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps away from 0. Always positive because measurements of distance is always positive. Now we're going to go the other direction though. How many steps away would you find negative 1? Well, you take 1 step, that's still 1 step. It's 1 measurement. It's a positive number. How many steps to get over to this one? Well, 1, 2. And then 3 steps, and 4, and 5, and 6. Notice both sides, all the distance measurements are positive. Okay, that's what absolute value does. It's simply, very simply measuring the distance from 0. If we understand that it's always positive, that's going to help you, because if I ask you the absolute value of 2, that's easy to write out and see that's 1, 2 steps away. If I ask you negative 4, that's still pretty easy to draw this diagram out and see that it's 4 steps away. But if I ask you for the number 2,000, you are not going to want to write out 2,000 and count 2,000 little steps. So we have to understand that what absolute value is doing is just asking you for whatever value they give you as a positive number. Positive 3, it's positive 3. Negative 3 is positive 3. No matter what value integer they give you, all you're doing is making sure that your answer is positive. Okay, because that is measuring, that is the value of the measurement, and the measurements are always positive. Now the symbol that you're going to remember to use now, used for absolute value, is those set of bars there. Okay, I don't know if they're actually called absolute value bars, but that's what I call them. So, and I always draw mine at a slight angle like that. That way I can make sure I don't mistake them for being equal signs, or not equal signs, but ones or anything else. I want to see that those are absolute value bars. And what it's doing, these bars is actually a full mathematical question within themselves. Because that is a full math problem. This is, if we were to read this out loud to somebody, this is asking, what is the absolute value, abbreviate there, of negative 6? So when you see the bars around a value, it's asking what's the absolute value of that number. Okay. It's also, if we look and understand what we wrote up here, it is saying what is the distance from 0 of negative 6. Same question. What's the absolute value of negative 6? Absolute value is the distance from 0. So what is the distance from 0 of negative 6? Same exact thing. It's asking you to both those at the same time. So regardless of which one you're doing, negative 6 is, and we can even look at our number line. I used a small number here. It is 6 steps away. That's a positive 6. Okay. All you have to do is take whatever's in the absolute value bars and write it as a positive number. Okay. If it's negative, well, now it's positive. Gotta move it over a little bit. I'm trying to keep an eye on a monitor here. I'm a little bit off. All right. So if it's a positive number, again, it's asking you for the absolute value of 3, and it's asking you for the distance oops, excuse me, not of, from 0. And both of these, it doesn't matter which way you phrase the question, 3 is 3 steps away from 0. Okay. All right, so some of these, they will just give you a number. You'll have a few problems like that where they're just going to say, all right, absolute value of -6, 6. Absolute value of 3, 3. No work to be shown. There's no work here at all to be shown. This is knowledge. This is straight out. You look at it, you know the answer. Okay, there's not, I mean, unless you want to draw a number line, you can feel free to do that if it helps. But if they get bigger numbers, you're not going to want to do that. That's why it helps to understand what you're looking at here so you don't have to draw out huge number lines and kill yourself with that. All right, I'm going to turn my page so I can do the last part of my lesson all on one sheet of paper. And the last part of this lesson is using absolute value in order of operations. Okay, so we know that it's parentheses, then exponents, and multiplication, division at the same time, addition, subtraction at the same time. Well, I never said absolute value in that. So what you have to understand is that absolute value is a kind, kind of grouping. Like parentheses. So you're going to do them when you do the parentheses. You're going to do them first. Okay, you got to deal with the groupings first, whether it's absolute value, whether it's parentheses, whether it's brackets. Those are all things that you do first in the order of operations. Once you've done that, then you can look at multiplication, addition, any of those other things that you've got going on. So when you see a problem, I'm going to do 3 or 4 problems here and then we'll wrap up, is 2 plus, and I draw them nice, big, exaggerated at an angle so that we can clearly see the problem here. 2 plus the absolute value of -3 equals. Well, I got a couple things going on here. I've got an addition problem and I've got absolute value. Do them first. Absolute value is a kind of grouping. So we have to figure out -3, absolute value of -3. Well, it's 3 steps away from 0. The 2 just comes on down. The plus sign just comes on down. We haven't used them yet. Now that we've used that absolute value, now we can do the addition and get 5. All right. And I want to show you that what you're going to start to run into, you're going to see that you can have 2 different problems that give you the same answer. That's what starts to happen and what you're going to start to experience when you have absolute value involved. Because the absolute value of +3 is also +3. And then the 2 comes down, the addition comes down. And look at that. Now we can see 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3. They're the same problems. Even though they started looking different because this had a negative, that had a positive, it doesn't matter. This is a measurement from 0. This is a measurement from 0. So now they change into the same problem. Okay, I'll give you one more that looks like that. If I ask you to do 2, and we know that in math, if anything touches, it automatically means multiply. So again, absolute value has to be done first. So now it's saying -5 is how many spaces away from 0. Well, it's 5 spaces. The 2 comes down, and remember there is an invisible multiplication symbol right there. So now we got to make it visible, and we get 10. 2 times the absolute value of 5. Absolute value of 5 is 5. Positive gives us a positive answer. Negative gives us a positive answer. Answers are always positive. The 2 comes down. The multiplication is now visible. Notice now we have the exact same problem again. Okay, it started looking different, but now it looks the same. So I get 10 again. Okay. And one last example. -4, absolute value of -4, plus the absolute value of +4. Well, I have 2 sets of bars now. Here's my first one. I'll deal with that first. -4 is 4 steps away from 0. +4 is 4 steps away from 0. I bring down my plus sign. Now I have an addition problem that I can do. All right. So your assignment that you're going to see, I'm going to give you a couple worksheets. Again, I'm going to probably give you 2 to 3 a week, depending on the difficulty of the worksheets. If they're long problems that take a long time, I'll give you a little bit less, and if they're easier, you might get a little bit more. Oops. So I'm going to post this video. Obviously, you found it because you're watching it. Along with it, I will post the assignments. I will also post copies, scans of these notes so that you can print those or at least have them to refer to. You're going to do the assignments. This part here on these assignments is the only work to be shown. All right, I'd like to see how you break this down and create the new problem and give me an answer. Create the new problem, give me an answer. Okay, so this will be the bottom, I believe, of the assignments. So I'll post the 2 or 3 assignments for this. I'll post these notes, and you found the video already, and you can email them, scan them to me. If you have problems, email me. Make a comment in Blackboard. Somehow let me know. We can email each other. We can text each other. We can FaceTime if you really need it. We got all sorts of avenues to help you out if you need it. Okay, I don't want you giving up just because you're home and I'm home. I'm more than happy to help any of you out if you want or need the help. So all you have to do is ask. I will be talking to you next week for our next edition of Home Learning with Mr. Christensen. All right.